Hey everybody, what's up? How's it going today? So, if you couldn't tell, I decided to dust off a classic and watch No Country for Old Men. Partly because I wanted to take a break from all the Netflix originals I've been reviewing lately, but also because I think it's a healthy thing to kind of revisit a movie that you remember being super awesome back in the day, if for no other reason just to make sure that you weren't absolutely crazy at the time that you saw this film. And believe me when I say that this movie gets even better the more times you watch it. All honesty, 100% zero exaggeration, this is one of the greatest films ever made, period, the end. If you don't know, the basic story revolves around Josh Brolin, who stumbles across something very, very valuable, and lo and behold, Anton Chigurh, played by Javier Bardem, is after said valuable, and Tommy Lee Jones plays this kind of old, grizzled police officer who's trying to find out what's going on with all that and track both of them down. Or as I call him, the chaotic neutral of the movie. And for some reason, for me personally, this is just one of those movies that makes me want to look up, research, and analyze the whole art of filmmaking. And I partially owe that to the Coen brothers' masterful skill of showing without necessarily telling. On screen, they will show you two, and then they will show you another two, and it's up to you to deduce that that equals four. Say, for example, you're watching a gangster movie, and then you hear a hitman say something such as, "Me personally, I only kill dudes that wear baseball caps." And then in the scene immediately after that, you see a dude that's dead with a chalk outline, and he happens to be wearing a baseball cap. And as an audience member, you can therefore deduce that the man in the first scene is indeed the killer of the man in the second scene. And this movie is full of that kind of shit, both on a big scale and a small scale, which is probably why the movie gets a little better every time I watch it. And when the directors do that, it almost makes you feel like you're partaking in the story, because there are certain scenes where it's obvious that something has happened or is about to happen, but it's up to you as an audience member to kind of understand how that happened, I guess. And that's what I love about this movie. It doesn't fucking spoon-feed you every little detail about it. Because a lot of blockbusters will do that for you nowadays. They'll throw everything in a blender, just blend it up, and just kind of spoon-feed you, and it's like this gross, disgusting mishmash of Subway, McDonald's, and every other kind of crappy fast food. Whereas this movie makes you work just a little bit for your meal, and it turns out to be a $95 steak, with all the fixins on the side, loaded mashed potatoes and whatnot. And oddly enough, this movie shows a lot of characters kind of sitting down, almost as if the movie's taking a break from telling you the story, but at the same time, the story's so juicy and interesting that you can't stop listening, almost creating the feeling like you're receiving information from an older grandfather or grandmother. Coincidence? I think not. And that aspect of the movie is creative as shit just on its own. And having said some of this stuff, I can't understand why somebody would dislike this movie. I can understand why some people might not be over the moon about it, say if you're a female, for example, because there's not a whole lot of relatable femininity in the movie. But at the same token, you have Kelly Macdonald in the movie, and she plays Josh Brolin's wife. And if you don't have her in the movie, if you think about it for a second, you really don't have a movie, because she is essentially the entire motivation for Josh Brolin's character. So while she may not be a linchpin or the inciting incident to the rest of the movie, she is a driving force behind the main character. So she is pretty freaking important. Also, side note, there's an older lady in this movie that just comes off as a straight up savage. And speaking of savages, the acting is awesome. Some people might think that Tommy Lee Jones was just kind of playing himself, but in my opinion, Tommy Lee Jones isn't that witty. In real life, he's just kind of a grumpy old man at this point. Tommy Lee Jones doesn't have jokes. Therefore, clearly he was acting his ass off. And I haven't seen every single movie that Josh Brolin has been in, but this is probably the best performance I've ever seen Josh Brolin give in a movie. It is very minimalist, but at the same token, it's incredibly snarky. And Javier Bardem, I mean, he won the Academy Award for a reason. And his character is just the epitome of what the fuck am I gonna see next? And some people kind of deduce that he's this weird representation of death or fate or something along those lines. Me personally, I find him to be the personification of time. But philosophical stuff aside, he is the Joker of this movie. In that you know he's a bad character, but you almost kind of root for him, and you're just waiting for him to come back on screen, because as soon as he comes on there, you know some crazy shit's about to happen. And I'll tell you one thing, if I had the opportunity to work on this movie, you know what job I would want? The fucking composer. And the reason why is because this movie is 2 hours long, and the musical score consists of about 15 minutes of sound effects. It's like Carter Burwell's business meeting with the Coen brothers went hey, yeah, you guys, you go ahead and make your own little movie. I'm just gonna hang back on my metaphorical iron throne made out of cellos and violins that we're not gonna use. And you wanna know what the fucked up part about that is? That I think that 100% was the right move. Because real life doesn't have background music playing all the time, and the movie felt that much more real. Solely based on the fact that you didn't hear music for the majority of it. And of course, the ending was awesome. Because like I said, the movie just doesn't spoon feed you, it just allows you to think and just imagine shit all on your own. And me personally, I think the three main characters represent fully the choices that you have in going forward as you get older. And also what those choices may or may not bring you. But anyway, guys, after everything I've said, this movie is fucking magnificent. For those of you that have been following me for any period of time, you know that this is a very, very rare thing, but this is a perfect film to me. Therefore, it is a 10 out of 10. I cannot recommend this movie enough. If you've seen it, please revisit it. If you've not seen it or you've not heard of it, Watch it, I guarantee you will get something out of it. And it's on Netflix at the time that I'm recording this, so it's perfect. But anyway, guys, those are my thoughts. What are your thoughts? Have you seen this movie? Have you heard of it? Hop in the comments. Let me know what's up. And if you guys want to talk spoilers about the movie, just leave a warning in there and then knock yourselves out. Other than that, if you like this review, give me a like, subscribe to all that other bullshit that makes the channel look good, and I will catch you guys next time.